Reinvent the Wheel on Your Video Project webinar. Just a few housekeeping issues. We're going to be recording this webinar and it will be available shortly on the LSNTAP website, and we'll also post it on the ShareLawVideo website in the training section. If you have any questions, everybody's going to be muted, but you can type your question in the chat box or raise your hand, and we will have time at the end for questions. And so today I would like to introduce Susan Muirhead, who is a longtime videographer extraordinaire who was with Illinois Legal Aid Online for quite a while, and now she's in Los Angeles pursuing other career options. And she developed lots of training materials for ShareLawVideo, and she's going to speak first about video production. And after Susan, we're going to hear from Cynthia Vaughn, who is Project Manager Extraordinaire. I don't know your official title, Cynthia, sorry. She's with OLAF. And then at the end, we will have some time for questions, and I will give you a brief run-through through the ShareLawVideo.org website. So I'm going to make Susan a presenter, and we'll get started.
Okay, thank you very much, Kristin. I wanted to thank you for letting me be a part of this website. I've written a few articles for the site, and hopefully people will find them to be pretty helpful and useful. So one of the articles that I wrote is called Basic Video Production, and I wanted to go over highlights of that article today. And again, the full article is online, so you can read it there, and I'm just going to touch on some of the basics. The article also references helpful links, websites, resources for you, and it also provides sample documents that you can look at, like sample script, sample budget, sample actor release form, those kind of things. So you can reference those through this basic video production article as well. Hopefully those will help you out too. So let's get started. So the first thing to know is that video production really can be broken up into 3 phases. These phases are pre-production, production, and post-production. That's how I like to think about them. And breaking your responsibilities down into these categories will help you in putting your video together. Pre-production, to me, it's arguably the most important part of producing the video. It's essentially just the planning stage. It's when you get everything together for your project. It's usually the longest phase. It could take a few months to get everything together. Yes, I said a few months, believe it or not, it can take that long. Then you have the production phase, which usually can take a few days. It's when you're actually shooting the video. And then post-production can take about 1 or 2 months, and that's when you're kind of wrapping up the video and mostly concentrating on the editing. So let's talk about some of the things that you will need to do during pre-production. Many of you are very busy, so you might not be as organized and do all these things in a timely manner, but that's the goal, right? To kind of take care of as many things as possible before you shoot so that your shoot can go more smoothly. So the first thing you need to do is create a schedule. You need to figure out when you need to shoot your video. Some of you are producing and shooting or editing your video on your own, and that's fine. Maybe you have more liberty in terms of your time frame, but some of you are dealing with a grant cycle or something like that, where you received a grant for a video, and so you have to do it within a year period or 6-month period, that kind of thing. So once you know the deadline for your video, you need to move backward and put together your schedule. So for instance, I worked on a video series for the American Bar Association called Serving Your Seniors, and I think it was pretty much like a school year schedule. We started out, actually it was about 9 months. We had about 9 months to do that. And so we started drafting the scripts, I want to say in like November, December. We finalized the scripts in January, February. We shot the video in March, and then it took us about a month or 2 months to edit the video, and then we posted the videos online like at the end of May. So that's just an example, but you should put together your timeline. Also, you need to know the scope of the project. If you're doing one video or a series of videos, that's very helpful as well, so you know what you need to plan for. So my experience is that the script writing part of pre-production takes the longest. If you're working with a committee, it could take you a couple months to put together your script. Or, like I said, if you're doing it on your own, maybe you have a little bit more time and freedom. But that's something just to keep in mind. It's going to take a little while. And there's, like I said, there's an example of like a sample video production schedule that's included in the helpful document section of this article, if you want to take a look at that to help you plan out your schedule. So the next thing you're going to need is a script, obviously, and you must have a script. You know, you can't write an outline, you can't write, you know, just out some thoughts. You can't just wing it. You have to put everything into a script, write out verbatim what you have your presenter, narrator, or actor saying, and pretty specifically write out how you see your video. And that script is going to be a reference for you for everything that you do. Any kind of locations that you're going to need to shoot in, actors that you're going to need to cast, how long the video is going to be, how you'll create a budget for your video, that kind of thing. So you absolutely have to have a script. And there's a sample in the helpful documents that I was talking about. Some general notes about scripts. It's good to use script writing software and actually translate it into that kind of format. It works best for videos. And there's a lot of free script writing software out there for you to use. And there's some links that I've given on the site so that you can go there and create your own script. Generally, 1 page equals 1 minute of screen time. So you can remember that as you're putting your script together. It's 20 pages. It's going to be 20 minutes or longer. And you, that way you can kind of figure out how long your script's going to be. In general, script should be pretty short. I always try to work on videos that are about 3 to 5 minutes. Anything longer than that, I think, you kind of lose people's attention. And it's, I think people can be overwhelmed, especially with legal training videos where you're presenting a lot of substantive information. People get a little intimidated or overwhelmed, and so doing the shorter video pieces is easier for people to follow. You need to lock your script. Many people are kind of change their script up to the last minute or through post-production, and that can be a little unorganized. I think, just get it all in writing, get it all down, make it clear. If your script isn't done, don't start shooting. Wait till it's done. For the most part, I would say I found that procedural type of videos are more effective for an audience. And what I mean by that is creating a video that's about a process or a procedure, such as going to court and filing a petition, or a video about serving someone, a service, something like that. So because so many people are kind of intimidated by going to court and the whole legal process, they really want someone to kind of hold their hand and take them through the process of completing an act. So those I've found have been more effective for an audience. If you're going to do a video that's in another language, you need to make sure that you complete your video in English, and then also give yourself time to have the script translated into this other language. And that can just take a little bit more time. We can talk about that a little bit later on. So moving on then, the next thing you'll need to do is determine your budget. Sometimes that's determined by the grant that you've received possibly to put this video together. But you still need to, even though, say you have $2,000 or $1,000, whatever it is, $10,500, you still need to break it down and figure out what you're going to spend on what. I know many people don't have a lot of money to work with. We can talk about trying to get resources and actors and other people to kind of help you out for free, or providing services in kind a little bit later on. And I mostly just use Microsoft Excel, but there's also several websites that I've provided in the link of helpful resources that you can get free budgeting software, or low cost budgeting software online. So just to touch on that again, for people looking for people helping them out for free if you don't have a lot of money, I think that you can look for actors who need on-camera experience. You can look for editors who are maybe just kind of starting out. They have the talent for it, but they don't have a lot of experience. Or you might be doing everything yourself, so You don't need to spend money hiring a lot of people because it's all on you. And like I said, yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. Insurance, okay. I'm not going to talk too much about insurance for videos. I think it's just something that I wanted to bring up because a lot of people forget about it. They don't think that they need it, and you do. If you don't have it, you'll probably, 99% of the time be fine without it, but there is a risk there, and you just need to be aware of that. Also, if you do not have insurance, you might not have access to certain locations that you want to shoot in. If you want to film, for instance, in a courthouse, you might not be able to do that without proof of insurance. And we can talk about that later too, more specific ways about going about, getting insurance, making sure that you're covered, and that's also outlined more in the article that I wrote. Securing your locations. I think you need to, first thing, go through your script, create a short list of all the locations that you're going to be shooting in, and then it's your responsibility to go about finding those locations. An important thing to remember about that is make sure that you're asking the correct person for the location that you're going to be using. Say you want to shoot in an apartment. You can ask the tenant, but you also need to make sure that you ask the management company of the building that you're shooting in, that kind of thing. It's always good to get it in writing. You might be fine without it, but most of the time it's good to sign what is called a location release form or a location agreement, and there's an example of that and what that looks like on the site as well. And like I said, a lot of places might need proof of insurance, and I would check about, when you're researching your locations, I would also look into any kind of issues that might come about in using that location. Parking issues, city permit kind of stuff, that kind of thing. You might want to look into that as well. So casting actors, that's the next portion of the pre-production phase. A lot of questions arise, what kind of actors do I want? Where can I find actors? Can actors work for me for free? That kind of thing. Most of the time, I just usually cast people who have had, who are non-union, and they haven't had a lot of acting experience, and they want experience on camera. They're beginning actors who are just starting out. And so usually in the past, I've contacted a casting agency. I was working in Chicago at Illinois Legal Aid Online for many years, and there were lots of agencies there. And what I would do is contact the agencies. I would send them what's called a cast breakdown. And it's just a list of everybody that you're going to need in the video, age, race, whatever demographic, and you send it to them. They reach out to all of the talent that they're representing, and they say, okay, these people have decided that they would be interested in being in your video, and then you reach out and you contact them. Otherwise, you can ask friends, that type of thing, that's fine. It really depends on what your actors are going to be doing in the video. If they're just essentially walk-ons in a way, kind of walking through the motions of going to court, you don't really need a professional actor to do that. You can just ask anybody to do that. But if you're asking someone to act out a certain situation or to be a presenter or narrator, I think it's good to go with someone that has a little more experience. You don't have to necessarily pay them a lot of money, but you might need to pay them just a little bit. It really, there's that phrase, you get what you pay for, and going with an experienced professional for something like that is definitely worth it if you have the opportunity to do so. So again, you'll need actors, anybody in the video, to sign a release form, and there's a sample of that on the site. Renting equipment, costumes, props, anything like that, you'll need to do that at this phase. Maybe you'll find someone that you can work with who has a camera, or you can borrow a camera, that kind of thing. But if you need to rent anything, you need to do that all now. I would suggest putting together a list of any kind of equipment you think you're going to need, and any kind of props or costumes or anything like that you're going to need. Obviously, this is a movie set. You're not going to need some big props or anything like that. But maybe you'll need certain forms for your video if you're talking about a certain procedure. So you want to get those all in order. So you're doing a video on service. Maybe you want to get an envelope or something and give that to the person that's serving someone at their house. Just little things like that. Just kind of go through the script ahead of time and think about that before you shoot. Then a good idea would be to create a shot list, how you're going to visualize the entire video. So look at your script. Again, that's your reference. Put together a complete list of all the shots from beginning to end that you want to get, how you see your video. You can put it together in a shot list, or you can put together a storyboard, say, if you'd like to draw out kind of how you see things. Maybe that will help you to kind of flesh out your ideas. But putting those two things together is very important, so you know what it is you're going to be doing. Then I would put together a shooting schedule, and what that is pretty much how you're going to organize your shoot days. And that's pretty much determined by when you have access to equipment, when you have access to a certain location, when your actors are free. But you need to kind of put together just a plan of action for what you're going to shoot. You don't necessarily shoot a video in chronological order. You shoot by availability and that type of thing. So make sure you kind of write out exactly how you're going to shoot. If you have a day, how you're going to put it all in a day, or if you have a couple days, getting that all planned out is great, and using that as a guide for your shoot is really helpful. Okay, so you're ready to shoot. We're on to production then, and some production tips. Okay, so some of you might be a producer, shooter, and editor. You're going to be doing it all yourself. And if that's the case, I just wanted to kind of go over a few things that hopefully will be helpful to you as you shoot. So shooting with the camera, first off, just little things to remember and to think about. Some of them might seem obvious, but I just wanted to throw them out there anyway. Use a tripod, obviously. Charge batteries. You don't want to be chained to a wall by being plugged into the wall all the time. You want to be able to move your camera around. You want to vary up your shots as much as possible. Don't just get a wide shot of a room. Make sure you get close-ups, medium close-ups, move around. This is called B-roll or coverage. And as you're editing your videos together, you'll need as much coverage as possible, especially if you have a lot of voiceover. This is how your whole video is kind of put together. You can't really shoot too much coverage. I mean, I know you have time restraints when you're shooting your video, but just shoot as much as you can. Shoot away. Manually white balancing your camera. Okay, this is something that people usually forget about because they think that when they look out of the camera lens, that's what the camera is seeing, and that's not the case. You need to white balance your camera every single time that you turn it on. And essentially, there's information about that later on in the articles, or in the, I have some links that reference some helpful articles about that kind of thing. But basically, you're pressing a button on your camera. It's the white balance button. And you have to reference white. So you can zoom into a white wall or piece of white paper, and then you're setting your camera the color temperature or light temperature that you see as white. Okay, and that's important because otherwise your video will turn out to be yellow or pink or something like that, and it's hard to fix that. So lighting. Let's go on to lighting. So most of the time you're going to be fine with video wherever you're shooting. Because video doesn't need as much light as film, obviously. So you'll be fine with practical lights or natural light, what have you. But it's always good if you can to get a little extra light and to get a basic light kit or a light for the front of your camera that you can mount onto your camera. Sometimes you might be shooting in a room that doesn't have any windows, that type of thing, and there's just not quite enough light. So that's a good idea if you have access to a light kit to use it. With video, it's all about kind of still, soft light, and you want it to look as natural as possible. So it's usually about bouncing your light. I wouldn't shine light directly on anyone. And I would bounce it off of a wall, use an umbrella if it comes in the light kit that you have access to, or some kind of non-flammable kind of material over the light to soften everything up. And there's more information about that in the article that I've written. So sound, okay, sound recording. Essentially, all you need to know about sound recording is that if you shoot with just using the onboard mic on your camera, it's going to sound bad. That's all you need to.
Muted.
Kristin, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
So it looks like maybe we need to call Susan, or would you like to go ahead and do your presentation while we get Susan back on the line?
I can do that if you want to give me the baton.
Yeah, I'm going to change presenters to Cynthia, who's going to pinch hit for us while we get Susan back on the line. I apologize for the interruption. I was trying to mute feedback, and I killed the whole thing. I apologize. So here's Cynthia.
Okay. And I'm showing my screen. Kristin, can you see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Okay, great. All right, well, thanks. Now I'm going to talk about project management, also, but based on a specific project that we did in Ohio. I work with the Ohio Legal Assistance Foundation, and I work on statewide technology projects. So a few years back, we did a project called the Ohio Court Tour Project, and the purpose of the project was to convert 51 one-minute legal audio files into a video experience for our users on our statewide website. This particular project was funded by the Ohio State Bar Foundation, and we utilized previous audio content for our video project. The files themselves are available on our statewide website on ohiolegalservices.org on the public side if you'd like to check those out. So in terms of the project, they're also, also available on ShareLawVideo.org. In terms of the process for the project, I'm going to talk a little bit more about project management from a methodology standpoint, but as it relates to this Ohio project as a reference. So as Susan was saying, planning and initiating your project, very important. I'm in this document that you see on your screen, it's a step-by-step on how you could do that for a video project that you may want to do. The first thing that you would want to do is initiating your project. So think of that as your pre-production. You develop an executive summary, which is also called a project charter, and it has your goals and objectives that you want to accomplish with your project. Word of advice is don't bite off too much and don't do too many things the first time out. If it's your first video project, you want to take it slow, maybe do a video or two and get your feet using the great advice and expertise that Susan has provided, and also this project methodology. And know that your videos and your collection of videos are iterative and they're continuously growing and changing. So you may have a set of goals for a particular project, but you may also change those in the future. So you've done your executive summary, and then one of the most important things that you need to do in terms of your initiating planning is identifying all your stakeholders. And do take the time to document them. The project management term for this is a stakeholder matrix or stakeholder register. And that means that everyone that is going to be involved with the project of creating the videos, but also the people who are going to use them, they're all stakeholders. So if you identify them up front and you have a log of them, then you can make sure that you cross-reference, include everyone. That may also include advocates, IT staff, attorneys, directors, other community partners, etc., and videographers. Now, in terms of planning your project, we use here in Ohio a work breakdown structure, and on the right you're going to see what that looks like. Think of it as an organizational chart of deliverables. So as part of your process, you collect your requirements of what you want to do in your video, then you create your work breakdown structure, which is simply starting at the top, legal services video is one, and then you can set your phases, and you can insert what Susan's saying in terms of pre-production, production and post-production, shot development, video shooting, even camera deliverables, if you will, and lighting equipment. Those can all go in your deliverable chart, also known as the work breakdown structure. When you physically see the work that you're going to do, and it doesn't just apply to a video project, but any project, if you can visually see what the deliverables are and who's responsible for those deliverables, it can help everyone be in lockstep to what the ultimate goals and objectives are. You can also include on your work breakdown structure the actual timeline, so people can get a visual of what's involved and when these pieces are going to be done. This is also a good tool to use to share with executive management and your directors so that they can visually see what's going on with the project and who's responsible for what. So moving on here, once you have your work breakdown structure up here, you can then start to define and sequence your activities, which are what Susan was showing you, how to develop the shots, what's involved. All of those are tasks related to your deliverables. So you can break those down, and as she mentioned, you can use an Excel spreadsheet, you can use Microsoft Project. Microsoft Project is good for helping you define the tasks that you have, but also can help you build your budget by inserting hours and then having an hourly cost for each of your people that are working on your project. Once you have those activities defined, you can estimate how long it's going to take to do your videos. As you're saying, no longer than a minute is a page, and your storyboards and so forth. You can estimate those durations here. And I'm going to stop for just a second and talk about durations and resources in general to project management. When a project is underway, or it's going to be underway, somebody walks up to you and says, how long do you think it's going to take us to do our 10 videos? I need to have an idea for a budget. I won't hold you to it, but I want an idea of a budget. You can say, well, let me define the tasks, the deliverables, the tasks, and get an estimate of how long that may take based on resources, and I'll get back to you on that. If you take the time to define those activities, tasks, and think about the durations of the resources, you're actually going to get a closer estimate to what the project may cost, and that can help everyone understand the scope of it. Do take the time to take those steps, and your management will thank you because you'll have a better idea of costs when they come in. Okay, giving you an example of what a budget may look like by phase. This is general software development life cycle terminology here. You see inception phase, elaboration, construction, and transition. For a video, we'll use the terms that Susan was using to reinforce that it's a video project. So it's pre-production, production, post-production, measurement with metrics and reporting. So you could do it that way. You're going to have a number of hours for the tasks involved, and you can see those in detail here. And then the resources that were involved in this project. I will say also, don't document yourself to death, meaning that you need enough to know what the tasks are based on what you want to deliver, based on the objectives that you set, and the time frame that you want to deliver it in. don't over-document, don't over-plan, but you've just got to get a feel for what's right for your project. Okay, some other things to think about when you're doing your project is plan quality. I learned something new about the white balance, Susan, so that's actually very cool. I didn't know you should do that with your camera every time, so thank you for that. That would be under plan quality. You would just take a few minutes to define what your quality measurements are going to be. If your quality is going to be high definition, or if it's going to be any other type of acceptable format and that kind of thing, you can plan those things, and how you can measure that is to see how it looks. The other pieces of this, like develop the HR plan, when I mentioned the stakeholder matrix earlier, that can help you plan who you're going to need, your actors, your videographer, whoever else is working on your project. You can develop that out. Just again, you don't have to do it in huge detail, but at least know what the skill sets are going to be required for all of your people on your project. Plan communications. This is a big thing in that we spend as project managers, and you're a project manager if you don't even know you are. Everything is a project. But we spend 80% of our time on some kind of form of communication, whether it's follow-up to see if someone's going to be late for a shoot, or creating the schedule that the shoot's going to occur and the location, how team touch-base meetings are going to be facilitated. That's all communication. So if you know for your project that you're going to meet via GoToMeeting, that you're going to use Basecamp or Central Desktop or Asana for all of your project communications, you're going to already plan that out. And you share that with the team through a kickoff of your project from the very beginning, so that everybody knows how communications are going to be run. You do want to take a minute or two to talk about risks. And an example of a video project risk would be the insurance component, whether or not you need to have that insurance, or whether you're willing to take the risk that if somebody gets hurt, it's going to be handled some other way or what have you. Risks don't occur, aren't an issue until they occur. So you can include a line item for budget in the event the risk does actually occur. That can be a contingency budget. You don't see it that often necessarily, at least on the 2 grants that I've worked on, but it's definitely something that you may want to consider in this type of project video. And then, of course, you plan your procurements, which is, in the video sense, what you're going to, if you can get the video off of the ShareLawVideo website, if you're going to need to shoot it yourself or you're going to buy it from someone else, that's all part of your planned procurements. Now, in terms of executing your video project, you're going to direct and manage it based on all of the planning that you put into it. Put more time into planning, the better off you're going to be from an execution standpoint. You're going to have your project team and everyone come together, and you're going to distribute and manage stakeholders based on your communications plan. If you know what that's going to be, then you can keep those stakeholders up to date on things. And then monitor and control your project. You want to make sure that you're touching base on your project at a minimum once a week, depending on where you are in your flow. There's going to be planning, you're going to have execution taking a lot of time, and then you're going to start to do your post-production and put the pieces in place. But you always want to be in control of anything that's going on in your project. The control costs and budgets, I can tell you that I feel much better as a project manager when I know what our projected project budget was going to be versus where it is actually. For example, every person on your project should be keeping their hours and a log of those hours and just submit those to you monthly. And then you can just keep it in Excel saying, here was the planned budget, and here's our actual costs, so you can know where you are at any given time across the life of your grant in terms of your costs and budget. That's a great thing to know to see if you're tracking as planned, or if there could be things coming up that weren't planned, but you have time to address any budget fluctuations or differences as you move through the project versus You start with a project, here's your budget, and then you wait all the way to the end to check where you are in your costs. Don't do that. You want to do it on a frequent monthly basis. All right, and then you close and report, and hopefully it's been massively successful and lots of people are looking at your videos and it's making a difference in the lives of clients and so forth. Now, I'm going to wrap up with some discussion about tools and some screenshots of our project, so that may be helpful to you. There are so many tools now available for project management, including Project, Excel, Basecamp, as I mentioned, Central Desktop. There's a great free task-based project system called Asana, A-S-A-N-A. You can check that out, asana.com. But essentially what those are is you're defining a project. You have tasks related to the project. In this sense, again, it's video. And then you can move forward with your project. For the Ohio Court Tour project, we used Basecamp. And we used Basecamp as our communication tool. We kept our notes, our whiteboards, which is just essentially notes from our meetings, where we kept our conceptual designs. We gave each other feedback. We were able to upload a large number of files and share those with our vendors that we were working with. And it helped us keep all our communications in one place. When you're using Outlook, as you all know, you can get 1,000,000,001 emails and you can file them in what seems like a great filing order, but those are yours. And if someone needs a copy of an email or an instruction, you'd have to forward it to them. Well, if it's in a project management system like Basecamp, anyone can get in there at any time of the day, 24/7, 365. So that's a great tool. You can check that out and see how it works, but if any tool that you use will probably work in trying to keep everything centralized. Now, in terms of the Ohio project, we did work with several vendors, including a company called Hewer & Company. We had a videographer, Final Step Audio. You may be familiar with Kaivo. They support our statewide website. And we worked with the Ohio State Bar Association and OSLSA in this key project. So, as I said, you can go out to the website. The link is in this documentation, which will be available and is available on ShareLawVideo.org. You can see the links to our videos. You can check those out. And if you have any questions or you need any information, just feel free to contact me. We did have specific objectives that we wanted to focus on with the Ohio project, and that was to help improve our understanding of how courts work with pro se litigants, how we can help reduce the number of pro se litigants who go to court unprepared. In Ohio, our level of pro se litigants has grown tremendously. Back in 2006, 2007, about 15% of cases that were being heard in Franklin County Domestic Relations Court, for example, it went from 15% to over 65% within a matter of years. So we are hoping, and we have seen, at least from people accessing our court tour logs on our website, that people are looking at the information provided in our videos. The court information, I'll show you here in a second, are things like how to go to court, what's the difference between civil and criminal, how do you prepare for going to court, things like that. So we know that this is helping our third objective, which is legal education regarding how courts function and procedures work. Okay, so kind of scrolling down here, collecting data for reporting. Again, it's so important to know that what we're doing is making a difference, and that needs to be quantifiably measured. Now, from our logs, we can tell, from our website logs, we could tell how many people were actually accessing the files. And depending on your philosophy, anything north of 0 I think is a good thing because the value of one person getting the information that they didn't have before is very high, and it can definitely help. But you want to make sure that as you initiate and plan out your project that you know how you're going to collect your data and see what it tells you. You also want to make sure that you integrate a survey. We did that with the Ohio project, and it was just very basic. In your opinion, was it helpful? The information, would you recommend it to a friend? would you use it again? And then we wanted to kind of know who that person was to get a little bit of a demographic profile. And to this day, we still have the link on our Court Tour section well after this was launched, and we still get an occasional, hey, this is really great, thank you. Can you add some more? And there's always that, there always is more to do, and there seems to never be enough of what we need to do. All right, storyboard of video scenes. I was mentioning that you can check this out, but you can see on your screen, these are the storyboards for a particular 1-minute section. So this particular one may be expert testimony, and the graphic will come in and fade in, and then we'll talk about federal, state, and Ohio courts, and have a visual. And all the time you hear the audio, you see the visual treatment, and could be real live action video going on. You'll also see the actual text copy being presented on the screen. So those who may not be able to hear, they can read that as it's being read. So from a disability standpoint, that's a point that we made. You can see how these storyboards can look. They don't have to be that much more complicated, just to give yourself a visual reference of what's going over. You see VO here. Hopefully you can see my screen wiggling around. That's voiceover. This is your legal minute. So it's the guy talking as we fade into each of the storyboards. Okay. And working and contracting with videographers, just from a business perspective and relationship perspective, we actually have an advocate in the Ohio system who has a video project or a video company on the side, and we were able to work with him. We recruited him. He was paid as an individual contractor on his own time for this project, and we used him. It was great to have him do that. If you are using a videographer that you don't even know of or you've never met them and you're doing an RFP for a videographer, these are some of the criteria that you want to be sure that you at least think about. Their business reputation, are they reasonable and competitive in their price offerings? Do they have referrals? Maybe they've done other work with legal aid advocates or other services or programs. Are they responsive to your inquiry? If it takes more than one phone call to get a response, then they may not be responsive for your project, and that's in general. So keep that in mind when you're picking a videographer. You don't want anybody delaying your project schedule. And then, do they have samples of their previous video that you can see either on YouTube or any other service? So I'm wrapping up. I'm getting the 5-minute warning here. I got you, Kristin. You also, Susan mentioned the schedule and how to put the script or the shot schedule together. This just gives you an idea of what that might look like. And then you'll see our actual video production management here in terms of what each step of the process and date we were going to shoot and where it was in terms of timing. And real quickly, we recruited various actors that did it for free for us, which was great. But we had them sign a release form to make sure that we had all that tucked away and taken care of. And I think I'm done.
Great. Thank you, Cynthia. And now we're going to jump back to Susan. I think we've got the audio problem fixed. Susan, can you say something so we make sure we've got the audio sorted through? Oh, and that's not good. Hold on a second. We'll try to get Susan back. In the meantime, do we have any questions? I had a question for where to find the tips that that Susan was talking about, and I'm going to show my screen right now. Change presenters and make it.
Can you hear me, Kristin?
My screen. Yes, now we can hear you, Susan. Very exciting.
Oh, you can? Okay, cool. I didn't want to interrupt.
So, great. And so we are. Real quick, I'm just going to go ahead and answer this question. The helpful resources that Susan is talking about are in the training guide on ShareLawVideo.org, and I divided them out by topic. And there are tips for delivering the final product, tips for screenwriting, tips for creating instructional videos, And so we don't actually have a document called Helpful Resources. I broke them down by topic. So now we're going to go back to Susan and let her wrap up her presentation. I think she was going to talk about sound next.
Great. Okay. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. Sorry about that. So going back to production and sound recording, the one thing I just wanted to say is that if you record sound from your camera, it will sound bad. That's all you need to know about sound recording, really. You can shoot from 2 different places. You can shoot from an onboard mic that's on your camera, and you can also use an external microphone. If you have the option to use external microphones, always use them. You'll probably have a port on your camera or a jack or whatever it is that you can plug in, like a lavalier or a clip-on microphone. And you definitely need to use that. If you use an onboard microphone, you're going to be picking up a lot of extra room noise or exterior noise, whatever. You don't want to use that. And once you've recorded bad sound, I mean, you can never really correct it. It will haunt you forever. It will never go away. So I just wanted to make sure that I brought that up. Working with actors, one thing I wanted to say about that, you can kind of read more about it in the article, but I think a lot of people have this mentality that, okay, I'm going to get people to work for me for free. They're helping me out. I'm just going to take what I get and it'll be fine. Just get rid of that mentality right away, because you're trying to produce a good video that is going to help people, and you can ask people to give you what you want. Okay, I just wanted to mention that. Also, cue cards. Depending on the type of video that you're doing, and if you're working with presenters or narrators, they're going to be presenting information, usually a lot of legal kind of substantive information to the camera. Sometimes they can memorize that, sometimes they can't. So I always like to put a portion of the dialogue or what they're going to be using, write it out onto a cue card, like a large one, like an 8x10 piece of paper, tape it to the bottom of the camera, and then they can read it if they need to. So you need to be close enough to them where they can read it, but far enough away from them so their eye movement won't be too distracting. But it helps sometimes. Also, if you're working with actors and you're shooting an English video and then a non-English video, for me, I've always done English and Spanish videos. So if you're working on one video, one topic, but you're going to do it in 2 different languages, you can shoot them at the same time, okay? So you can cast an actor, ideally, that can maybe do both, right, speak English and Spanish. Or you can cast 2 different actors. You shoot the Spanish-speaking person first, and then you swap it out. You put the English-speaking person in. That's how you shoot the video. You do them both at the same time. Okay, organizing your shoot day. I'm not really going to go into that too much, because I wanted to say just 2 things real quick. One thing, it's a good idea to keep what's called a camera report or a camera log, and that's pretty much just a list of all the shots that you have taped in the order that you shot them. Because you'll be delivering, tapes to an editor if it's not yourself, and they'll just need to know what it is that you've shot. And one tape would be courthouse, the next tape would be apartments or something like that. Just keep a list for them so it's handy, because they'll be referencing that and your script when they're editing the video together. Also, keep or save any paperwork that you get on the day of the shoot. You might have some actors that sign a release form and give it to you that day. Or maybe you buy people Subway or something like that. Just keep receipts, that type of thing. You're always going to need those release forms. You're always going to need to have them, keep them indefinitely. Okay, so post-production. So pretty much you're wrapping up the shoot and editing the video. Real quick, before we get to the edit, I wanted to mention 2 things. Just because you're done kind of shooting the majority of the video doesn't mean that you won't go back and get what are kind of reshoots or called pickup shots later on. For instance, you might look through the footage and find out that something didn't turn out quite the way you wanted it, and so you can go back and shoot it again. Doesn't mean that you have to go back to the courthouse with all of your actors, but maybe they're just little shots that you can put in that can add to the finished product. Voiceover work. If you're going to do any voiceover work, it's best to kind of do it immediately after the shoot, so you still kind of have the actors involved. You're still in touch with them. They're still around, and if you borrowed a microphone, you still have that microphone, so you can use it, and you need to sit down with them, either using your camera and the microphone that's plugged into your camera, and shoot the voiceover work. Or there's also, you can use your laptop, plug in an external microphone through USB, FireWire, or whatever, tape them doing that voiceover work, because the editor is going to need any kind of audio from the actors as they're editing to kind of put the whole video together. So editing the video, so this is really the heart of post-production. You might be doing it yourself, or you might be hiring someone else or working with a different editor. I think Cynthia, touched on this too, but hiring out and working with other people on this. Try to find an editor that you think would be good. Reference their past work if they have any. If you don't have a lot of money, maybe you can find like a film editing student or a video editing student, someone that's looking for more experience and wanting to put what's called a reel together. A reel is just kind of a online sample of work or a DVD that they put together of all the kind of editing projects that they've worked on. Try to look at something that they've done, or if you're working with a newbie, be specific about what it is that you want, and make sure that they kind of understand your expectations, and if you don't think that they can follow through and help you out, find someone else to do it. And also another thing I wanted to mention is I put together another article called Basic Editing on a Mac, and I put together just different kind of techniques that you can use when using iMovie and Final Cut Pro if you're going to be editing yourself, and hopefully you can reference that, and that will help you too. Okay. Do I have any more time or no? That's probably about it. Can you hear me?
You can just, yeah, hi Susan, it's Kristin.
Hi.
We have a few more minutes. If you have a few more things to say, just wrap it up kind of quickly so we can have time for questions.
Sure. I just wanted to say a couple things that, just in terms of editing, that I've had, problems with before, maybe in the past. But if you're working with an editor, you're going to be giving them tapes to work with, and you should always get those back. They're your property. They're yours, but they can borrow them temporarily to capture or download the footage that you've shot onto their computer or whatever it is that they're using to edit your project. If you have external hard drives, those are good because video takes up a lot of space, as you know. And if you shoot a lot of videos, at some point you're going to need to store them and keep those video files, and always keep your tapes as well. So investing in an external hard drive is a good idea. And like I said, just don't discard DVD tapes or delete video files. You might need them for other purposes, or you might need to hang on to them indefinitely. Also, if you're shooting or creating a video in English and another language, it's just important to note that when you're editing the video for the other language, Spanish, Polish, whatever it is, the video will be longer. It will probably be a few minutes longer than your English video. That's just always how it works. And you'll need that extra B-roll and coverage that we were talking about during the production phase to edit that video together. So it's not that you're going to, I found that once you create your English video, you're not going to use that exact edit for your non-English speaking video. You're going to have to add B-roll and kind of tweak the video for that other language. Unfortunately, you can't just use the same video for one piece. And delivering your finished product. It's important at the beginning, in pre-production, to know how you're going to use these videos. Are they going to be online? Are you going to show them on a DVD at the courthouse? Whatever you're going to be doing with them, figure it out, and then your editor or you need to deliver that content in the way that needs to be delivered in order for it to be displayed properly. QuickTime, Windows Media Files, iDVD files, whatever. You need to be able to deliver that product in the way it needs to be delivered. So that's about it.
All right. Well, thank you, Susan. And I apologize for technical difficulties. I will never, ever again try to mute anybody during a webinar ever. So what I wanted to do now is answer any questions. I think that most of the questions were about our audio snafu. If you have any new questions, please just raise your hand and I'll unmute you, or I'll try to unmute you. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is just give you a brief run through on ShareLawVideo.org. This is the homepage of ShareLawVideo, and we have, let's see, I think I've loaded up a finished video library, and the way it works is you can preview the videos for about a minute. You push the little play button. It takes a few seconds to load. If we've applied for a continuing TIG grant to continue this project, and if we get the TIG grant, there it is. we'll try to figure out why it takes a long time to load and fix that problem, but it takes a bit to load. And you can preview the video for about a minute, and if you decide you like it, you can download it. And when you download it, you have to agree to the terms, and then download it to your desktop, and then you can modify it and make a new video out of it for your jurisdiction. And so if you have video content to upload, you would just upload it. You choose the NSMI category. You can put keywords. We've set up a system so that we can free tag things like gavel, angry judge, happy judge, negotiations, mediation, stuff like that that wouldn't be in the NSMI. You can use that, the free tag system to mark your video content that way. The other thing in the media library that we have is we have finished videos, completely finished videos. We've got some from Atlanta Legal Aid, some slowly getting up there from Illinois Legal Aid Online, and all of Cynthia's videos are up. And then we have video clips, and the clips are raw footage from shoots, and we have all of Susan's video footage from Illinois Legal Aid Online. They were very generous in donating that, and their newer stuff as well. And so those are really invaluable for cutting and pasting and making your own video with a voiceover. I wanted to point that out to you. We also have, these are where all the training guides are. Cynthia and Susan's materials are here. Most of them are under video production. Susan's basic editing on a Mac is here, and Jeff Hogue put together how to create video content on a computer with Windows operating system, and so his expertise is there under PC software editing. So it looks like I do have a hand raised, and I'll see if I can navigate the webinar enough. Caroline, I'm going to unmute you.
Hi.
Caroline.
I think
hi.
Hi. I think I saw when you showed that the download section of ShareLawVideo, it's partly an answer to my question, but I'm curious about the whole copyright licensing. Who owns it? How do we, you know, if we had a volunteer videographer doing our videos, and we had quite a bit of debate about the release he had to sign and who owns the content and how do we, you know, copyright issues and all that kind of stuff. It looks like for downloading and editing and sharing, it looks like you've come up with a solution to that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I wasn't sure what
solution.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the right solution, but this is a solution that I came up with, and it. And I'll try to navigate over to it again. You have to agree to the terms and conditions, and the terms and conditions, if you're going to donate, is if you're going to receive video, is that you're agreeing to use it for nonprofit legal services or nonprofit self-help legal information. You're not allowed to use it for any other purpose. And if you have a Creative Commons attribution from the original video footage, you have to carry that forward, and you have to give attribution to the donating agency but you don't have to copy all of their attributions at the end. So we would have, you know, indefinite rolling, you know, attributions at the end if we all had to copy each other's stuff. So we just give attribution to the donating organization. And then when you do an upload, you are, in the terms and conditions, you're agreeing to the right to the content, and that you have to make the donation, and that you're agreeing to let people content under those terms. So if you agree to those terms, then there's a problem. And
so I guess my question
I'm open
is
to
actually
suggestions.
Well, my question, and you may have sent this to me when we went through this last summer, and I'm just remembering that it was kind of a nightmarish kind of part of the project in creating the video. We were dealing with the licensing and the copyright. I mean, before we even sharing it, so we had to have the videographer sign something. I saw the actor release, and I think
Right.
I think Lisa Colpois from Illinois sent us, maybe somebody else sent us the like a videographer release. But it's that how do you getting the it looks like Creative Commons licensing is what we want to do when we're creating
Right.
the videos in the first place.
Right. And if if you're hiring a videographer, your contract with your videographer should establish who owns the content and the
right.
product.
And that's where we would decide on the Creative Commons. That's where we would include the Creative Commons language.
Yeah, and you don't have to have a Creative Commons. Like this isn't exactly a Creative Commons license because you're only allowed to use it for nonprofit legal purposes.
Oh, I see. Right. Yeah.
So,
more narrow.
So yeah, the United, we're not giving, when you donate something on ShareLawVideo, you're not letting the United Way use it. You know, this is just nonprofit and self-help legal information. So it's very similar to what LHI set up, except it's just a different content. So that's what we tried to model it on.
Yeah.
The LHI concept, where if you're in the group because you're nonprofit law, then you get access, but you have to use it. Like for LHI, you have to put it on a statewide website.
Right.
So I think that that's the right way, but I'm definitely open to suggestions for doing it better and making it clearer. If anybody else has any other ideas, that'd be great. See if we get any other hands raised. Oh, we have another hand raised. Let's see, Brian. Brian? That's me. I'm Brian for our purposes today. So I think that if we don't have any other questions, then I think we'll conclude because we're just a few minutes over our 1 minute. And I want to thank everybody for attending. And in about a month, we haven't set the date, Susan is going to do another webinar on the nitty-gritty of video editing, and I'm looking forward to that because that's definitely a weakness of mine. So I'm hoping to learn a lot from that. So thanks, everybody, and we'll talk to you later.
The organizer